Hello there, welcome back. Again, this is Ben Berlin with Berlin Enterprises, a full-service real estate investing company here in Erie, Pennsylvania. We buy houses, sell houses, rehab houses, wholesale houses, have rental properties, everything you can imagine related to real estate. We have an awesome team with us, a team of agents and brokers and attorneys, which team building, by the way, is also extremely important to have in this business. So make sure you get yourself a good team. So we've been doing this for about 10 years, and my goal has become to help others succeed in real estate investing as well. So I've been working on a video training series. This is video number 14, and this actually comes directly from my course I have right here. It's a one-on-one course that I teach others how to invest in real estate. It's from A to Z, everything from the mindset you need to be able to do it. That success mindset, it all begins in the mind. Everything begins in thought. Then it goes into business basics, and then we go into deal analysis, and then we go into how to find deals, how to fund deals, how to farm deals. So it really is an all-inclusive course that if you do what I say, you cannot help but win. Literally, you can't help but be successful. So I didn't say it was going to be easy. I do say that it's going to be worth it, though. In fact, that was a great quote I heard today. I don't say it's going to be easy, but I do say it's going to be worth it. So nothing in life worth having is easy. We encourage you to keep pushing forward, never give up, and have just that no-fail attitude. And that's ultimately what will bring you success. So real estate is, it was, it is, it always will be the best vehicle for wealth creation. I just literally cannot think of anything that could be any better than what real estate is. The way that you can leverage it, the way that you can cash flow on it from day one, the way that it appreciates, the tax benefits from it. There's so many things, and I've covered a lot of that stuff already in these videos. Like I said, this video 14, and we're going to get into this. I've covered a lot of that, and I'm going to continue to cover more of it. And we're getting into some more of the nitty-gritty of deal analysis and how you can use leverage to your advantage. So I'd like to get started here, which, by the way, you can always email me at ben@berlinenterprises.net. I welcome your emails. I've been getting a lot of good ones, a lot of good questions. I'm happy to share any of the spreadsheets that I show you. I have templates of all of those. I'm happy to share those with you. I'm happy to help however I can. So I feel it's become my responsibility, my duty to help as many other people as I can help, because I firmly believe that when you help others succeed, you yourself will see more success as well. So, and I've seen that in my own life, but your heart has to be in the right place. You have to not do it for yourself, but do it for others. And so that's become my passion. And I'm actually working on a book that follows this course also. I'm excited to get that out. It'll be a little bit yet in the making, but I am excited to get that out. So another thing I wanted to mention is I do have my notes right here. This is just as if we're one-on-one. I don't do any editing, so if I stumble a little bit, forgive me. Again, you can email me anytime, ben@berlinenterprises.net. And so last time what we started to talk about is we got into how to use leverage. We got into a little bit more detailed analysis of deals and how you can use leverage. Now, I'm not saying that leverage is the only way or the best way, but I think it's one of the very big advantages of real estate. Now, if you're somebody that comes from a family that just has wads of cash laying around that you can use to invest in real estate, you might just want to do that. There might not be any sense to use any loans or lines of credit or anything to fund your deals, because maybe it just does make sense to put your cash out there and earn money on that, and that's okay. I think you're spiting yourself a little bit by not using leverage, but you have to use leverage wisely, and that's the key. That's where people can get into trouble, is they don't use it wisely. They don't do the numbers on it, and like I say, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, it's all about the numbers. It's always about the numbers. First of all, it's all about the numbers, and second of all, it's always about the numbers. Like Mr. Wonderful says on Shark Tank, it is always about the money. Don't fool yourself, it's always about the money. In this case, it's always about the numbers. So you always do your numbers. People get in trouble because they don't do the numbers on projects, and then they end up with a payment or carrying costs that are too high, or it's very easy to lose your rear end on real estate deals. It's also very easy to make a lot of money on real estate deals. You just have to do the numbers. So that's what I've been training you. So what I want to get into today, I promised you that I'd show you how analysis of the second deal I ever did. It was with a partner, nice home in a nice area here. And I actually used credit lines. Now again, these techniques, I'll tell you many techniques. There's techniques to be able to buy real estate with no money down. You can use bank financing. You can use seller financing. There's a ton of ways to buy real estate, and I'll get into all of that, and I'll teach you techniques of how to do that. But what we're talking about now is if you're somebody that has good credit but no money, this is a good way to do this. So, and that happened to be my position when I first started investing in real estate. I had good credit, but I didn't have any money. So watch the last video. If you don't have no idea what I'm talking about, the last one will help you out a little bit for you to understand what I'm talking about. And by the way, you should start at video 1, and they're numbered. They're just numbered 1, and this is 14, and they'll probably end up being about 30 or so. But you really should start from the beginning if you haven't already. So what we're going to talk about today is the second deal I ever did. And what I did is I actually used credit to buy the deal. I was in on it with a partner. And so here's what we did. And I'm not suggesting that you always put yourself in this position or that this is the only way you should do it. But what I am suggesting is that I want you to get in that mindset of you can do anything that you want to do with enough determination and enough creativity and knowing your numbers. That's what I'm trying to get you in the mindset of, is to be able to have the mindset of it's not necessarily risk. People, outsiders would see it as risk and say it was a foolish maneuver, but it's not to us because we know the numbers and we know how to analyze it. So here's what I did. And this was a property, I think we purchased it for $120,000, and we split the deal and we each paid cash for it. So I pulled cash out of business credit cards actually for that. Now you might say, okay, so you pulled $60,000 cash out to pay for your half of it. Well, no, I had to pull more than that because the $60,000 cash, I wouldn't have been able to afford the payments on that at that time. My budget was very tight. I didn't have any excess money at all coming in each month. So there was no way that if you figure, well, first of all, I've told you this before in previous series, but you must know what your payment's going to be if you're going to draw a loan out or a line of credit out or off a credit card. You need to know what your payment's going to be. So always be prepared for that. So call the bank, the credit card company, the credit line company, and ask them how they calculate the payment on that. In the case of a credit card, you want to ask them how they calculate minimum payment on that. So it's usually going to be 1% plus interest, or just 1% regardless of interest, or maybe it's 1.5%, or maybe it's 2 or 2.5%. So you always have to know how to calculate that. If it's 1% plus interest, and say interest is 12% annual, then what you would have to do is you always go by the month. So you do 12% annual, that's 1% monthly. So 1% of the balance, that's what you'll pay in interest. So if the balance is $10,000 and your interest rate's 12%, that's 1% monthly. 1% of $10,000 is $100. So you pay $100 in interest right off the bat. And this is an example of if it's 1% plus interest. So, and then interest would be, again, the 1%, $100, and the 1% of the balance is $100 also. So your payment on that, in that case, would be $200. If you had a 2% flat payment, regardless of interest, your payment would be $200. Now, as the balance went down, it would go down as well. The interest rate could be 30% or it could be 2%. It would be the same. So you must know how to calculate minimum payment, and I'll sketch that in later videos on how to calculate minimum payment. I'll do a little more detail on that. But I just want to preface it with saying you must know how to calculate minimum payment. It's a very important thing to do. So say that I like to use an average when we're talking about credit cards. I like to use an average of 2% payment. So say on a $60,000 drawn, that would 2% of that, what's that? 1% would be $600, 2% is $1,200 a month. So if I couldn't afford $1,200 a month. Yes, our plan was to rehab the property and resell it, and that's what we were going to do. That's what we did. But there was no way that I could afford $1,200 every month. I couldn't do it. The money, I didn't have the money to do that. So what I did is I drew, I don't know exactly what the number was, but I think it was somewhere around $75,000. Okay, so $60,000 went towards the house, and the remaining $15,000 I used to make the payments on the whole $75,000, right? So I drew 75,000. I needed 60. Payment 1,200. Okay, so I had 15 left over. So that 15,000 would cover that $1,200 a month for what, 10, 11, 12 months? It would cover it for 11 or 12 months. So what that did is that allowed me the time to get the property tuned up. We actually got it for a deal. It didn't really need a whole lot of work. We just put a little bit of money into it. And then I think we actually ended up I think we got bank financing on that one. It doesn't really matter. We could have just sold it and made a profit on it. I think we ended up getting a bank financing on that, and we ended up just paying off, I ended up paying off my portion, the $75,000, because we were able to pull a nice bank loan out on that. So I hope that makes sense to you. It's just a way to use leverage to your advantage. Again, I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm not saying to continually put yourself in a deficit like that. But if you plan, if you base it all on the numbers, it's not a risky thing to do. It's really not at all. So another example so my partner on this deal, actually, he had to come up with the other $60,000. And the $60,000 that he came up with actually came, it's kind of interesting how he did that. He built a house from the foundation up. It was the first house he built. He spent a ton of time planning for it, and he built this house. He used whatever cash he had. He had a couple properties. He sold a couple properties. He made a couple chunks of money with that. He had good credit also, so he was able to draw on credit cards and credit lines and whatever he could do. He borrowed money to do it. He just knew his budget said that he was going to be able to build the house for $190,000, and he knew he'd have a house worth $450,000 at that point because he spent so much time planning it. He general contracted it himself, subbed everything out, built a beautiful house. So he had $190,000 into the house, okay, from multiple different income sources, just like I went through. So he had $190,000 into the house, and then what he did is he was able to refinance it. So he got bank financing on it. The bank appraised it for $460,000. Okay, so I think they loaned him 90% of $460,000. So whatever that is, take 10% off. Say, just make numbers simple. Say they loaned him $400,000. So the bank loaned him $400,000. He got a check for that as a cash out refinance. So $400,000 cash out. So this $400,000, he paid off all those payment sources. So he has $210 left over. Okay, so he has $210,000 left over that he can play with. Well, you might say, well, yeah, he has a payment on the $400,000. Well, yes, of course he does. So a payment on that through a bank, I don't have my mortgage calculator in front of me, but I would say that $400,000 loan, a payment on that might be, let's just say it's $3,000 a month. I don't know what it would be. It probably actually wouldn't be that much. If $100,000 is like $500, yeah, it wouldn't be that much. Let's say it's 22,000. It's probably only like $2,000 a month on a $400,000 loan. So we'll say $2,000 a month. So he has a $2,000 a month payment. I don't know if you can see this, but he has a $2,000 a month payment on that $400,000, right? So he pays this off. So now he has $210,000 essentially that with that $2,000 a month payment. So what happens there? So then he has that $210,000 he can play with. So if he can invest that $210,000 in something that makes him more than $2,000 a month, then he's doing great, right? So one of the deals that he did was this. So he put $60,000 into this deal with me, right? So that portion of it, now he has he still has $150,000 left over. Still has $150,000 left over. 60 of it went into this deal. This deal we refinanced with a bank. We got a tenant in there that was paying $1,200 a month right there. So his portion was half of that. So he had $600 a month coming in on the 60, and then he still had $150,000 left over. And so you can see how maybe he put another 50 into another deal that got him $1,000 a month, and then he, however he did it. The bottom line is that he used this money that and it made him much more than what his payment was on that monthly. And then he still has this house, this asset sitting here that's worth $460,000 that he only owes $400 on, and he paid all this off. So you can just see how you can use leverage like this very much to your advantage, really build your wealth and your business much more quickly using leverage. Now, you have people like Warren Buffett that shy away from leverage. I don't know exactly why that is. I think that he's just always amassed his fortune without the use of it and has done well in the stock market with that. He's an anomaly. I think that then you have people like Robert Kiyosaki that he highly encourages leverage because it's very powerful. You have stock traders that leverage is an option. You can win much bigger. Yes, you can lose bigger also with leverage, but we don't lose here because we know all our numbers. We calculate all our numbers. We know what our payment's going to be. We know what we're going to be able to sell a property for. We know what we can earn on something. There's really, it's if you do it right, it's very hard to lose. So I highly encourage you to use leverage in building your real estate empire. I think that it's very beneficial. I think that it help you tremendously. So hopefully, between last week's lessons and this lesson, hopefully you're a little more clear on how you can use that to your advantage. I remember there was just something that didn't quite click with me. For a while, I had to see this on paper, how you could actually use borrowed money to pay on borrowed money. It just didn't make sense to me. When I saw it on paper, it just was very clear to me. I couldn't believe I didn't understand it before. So I would suggest, really to practice, I would suggest for you to practice reviewing some deals. Hopefully by now, if you've been following the series, you've been going out, you've been looking at deals, you've been finding out what the rents are. I want you to don't forget, you have to look at places. You have to put the work in. I want you to be able to go into a property and know exactly what it's going to be able to rent for. I want you to be able to know what you're going to be able to sell something for. I want you to learn. You've got to learn the market. You just have to put forth effort looking at real estate. And it's a volume game. Don't ever forget that. You might look at 50 places and put offers on 15 of them and maybe only get 5 of them accepted. That's just how it works. But so hopefully this sheds some light on what we've been talking about a little bit more. So I think I'm going to wrap this up for now. This covers that section. We're going to get into part 3 as far as how to find deals. I think that's a fun section. A lot of people tend to like that. So I hope that you got some out of today's lesson. If you have any more questions, I'm sure I'm not completely thorough on all of this. It's a little more difficult when I don't have somebody asking me questions back and forth that I can interact with, but I try to do a good job of covering everything. I know I go a little fast and cover a lot of stuff, but if feel free to ask me any questions that you like anytime. Ben at berlinenterprises.net. I am always here for you. And let's see, what else did I want to say? There was a couple other things I wanted to say. I can't remember. I am going to be away for a little while, so it might be a couple weeks before the next video, but I'll get one out soon. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it. Ben at berlinenterprises.net. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and here's to your success, friends. Have a great day. Thanks.